Hello everybody and welcome back to Don't Worry, Be Happy. And today we're looking at Psalm 91, again verses 1 and 2. And again I'm going to read that from the Amplified. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide, remain stable and fixed under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge, He is my fortress. My God, in Him I will trust. Now, I don't know about you, but I love sunny days. I love to get out there in the sunshine, particularly when we're on holiday. I find it lovely, relaxing just to sit in the sun. But opinions differ on that in our family. We've got a couple of our family members who don't really like things being that hot, and they tend to stay inside in the air conditioning when we're on holiday, which to me just seems silly, but that's the way they are. But there comes a point where things can just be too hot, doesn't there? The temperature gets too hot when the sun's burning outside, and then it's wisest just for everybody to stay in the shade and sip a nice cold drink. You see, it's a bit like that in our lives, isn't it? When things get too hot in our lives, it's so important that we remain under the shadow of the Almighty, that we stay in the shade. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, it means that we make the Lord our fortress, we make Him our refuge, our safe place. And we do that by leaning on Him, trusting in Him, and not in ourselves. Proverbs 3 verse 5 says this: lean on, trust in, and be confident in the Lord with all your heart and mind, and do not rely on your own insights and your own understanding. Now, that can be difficult, can't it? It's a challenge. And it's especially a challenge when you're having to be patient and when you're having to endure a few things in order to come out the other side. And that can take a lot longer sometimes than we were expecting. And when that happens, you can be tempted to move out from under the shade and look for refuge, security and support in other places. If that's you, then this psalm and this proverb that I've also quoted has a simple piece of advice for you. Get in the shade, stay in the shade and remain there, trusting God and not yourself. You see, when you're in the shade, when you're sitting under a tree or under one of those parasol things, there's an area where there's shade and there's an area outside the shade. There's definite limits to the extent of the shade. And once you go beyond those limits, you're exposed to the full heat of the sun. And that protection from the heat has definite boundaries. And you have to stay within those boundaries, within those limits, if you're to remain under the shadow, under the shade of God's protection. You see, when the heat comes, it's up to you to stay in the shade. It's up to you to keep comfortable. How? By trusting Him and taking a long, cool sip of His wisdom and understanding. Stay out of the heat, stay in the shade, don't get burnt. Father, I'm making a quality decision right now to stop leaning on my understanding and my ideas and instead to get in the shade and listen to yours. Amen.